Hi Year 9, Mr. Tabler here to walk you through your next lesson of Year 9 Humanities in Week 8 of Term 2. This lesson, we are looking at global supply chains. So we're developing our understanding of global supply chains, and our success criteria is to outline the features and purpose of a global supply chain within the world economy. So we're looking at what is a global supply chain, what do they do, how do they do it, where do they do it, why do they do it, etc. And I will say that this is actually the last topic you'll be looking at in Week 8. Next lesson that you have is going to be a catch-up lesson. So if you're having trouble with some of these topics, or you're having trouble finishing all the lesson questions, next lesson you have the opportunity to review, to finish any unfinished work. So, let's do a little example here, a little role-play scenario. Let's say you're starting up a car dealership, a car business. You've got two options. Would it be most efficient and profitable? So you're going to make the most money, best cars, most amount of cars in the quickest time frame possible. Are you going to either A, gather all the raw materials, all the resources you need to build the car, design and manufacture these separate car parts, so the wheels, the doors, the engine, and then construct the final product, the car, in Australia? So all that's happening in the one location. Or option B, is it more efficient and profitable to have a global supply chain where different stages of production occur in different locations? So maybe the car actually gets made in China and it gets shipped over to Australia. Maybe the wheels and the doors are being made in America and then they get shipped to that factory in China. Maybe the engine's being made in Germany, gets shipped over to the factory. Maybe the actual resources that you need to make all those things, like the glass and the windows, the plastics and the steel and the door, maybe those are got from Africa. So which of these two options is most efficient and most profitable, in your opinion? That's what we are looking at today. We are looking at this one here, basically, as the name suggests. We're looking at why it's nice to have a global supply chain for businesses and consumers. So, to understand a global supply chain, you probably need to know what a supplier is. And if you're having trouble with this slide or with this video, I recommend watching this little extra video here. It's just 2 or 3 minutes, I think, and it talks about, what is a global supply chain. So if this doesn't make sense, go check this out. So what is a supplier? Well, a supplier is a business that produces resources that are used by another business to produce a good or service. And if that's confusing, I've got a little diagram down there at the bottom. So a grocery store like Woolworths or Coles, they're not a supplier, they're a business. But where they get their carrots, their bread, their meat from, those are the suppliers. So the farmers out there making the crops, making bread and meat, those are suppliers, and they will send them off to manufacturers who will box it all up. Then they'll send it to a truck, a distributor, who will transport it to the grocery store, which is the Woolworths or the Coles, and then that's the actual business. So a supplier is kind of like the first step in the food chain, the first step in this supply process. They actually make the things that are going to be used to make other things. So the term supply chain refers to the network of suppliers from which a business purchases resources and then delivers it to its consumers. So Woolworths or Coles, using the grocery store example again, all those products in there and all those shelves, all the aisles, they've come from different places. They come from different businesses, different suppliers. So Woolworths doesn't go to the same person for its milk that it does for its, beef, for its cattle. So they've got lots and lots of suppliers. They have a network of suppliers called a supply chain. Commonly, large businesses, such as Microsoft or Apple, will have a large network of suppliers for the products in store. This is to provide a reliable and cost-effective supply of products for its customers. So basically there's a saying called don't put all your eggs in one basket. If Apple says, all right, all the products for my iPhone here that I'm selling off to customers, I'm going to get it from this one guy, this one business, this one supplier. That's fine, but if something happens to that one supplier, now all of a sudden they can't do anything at all. But if they have a network of suppliers, if they have a lot of different people that they get their resources from to build their products, that means that they have a reliable and cost-effective supply of products. Because if one thing happens to that guy, they've still got 9 other people who can give them what they need. A global supply chain benefits producers and consumers around the world. So again, connecting it to what we looked at in the previous lesson with globalization, you look at your phone, you look at a fridge, a TV, a car. Often all of the little parts in there, in those products, are made and sourced from other places around the world, other suppliers in this global supply chain. So this diagram I thought was pretty cool, and it shows the global supply chain for a Boeing 737. So it's a big old plane, basically. And you can see that with each individual part of the plane, it's coming from a different supplier, so a different company, and it's coming from a different nation. Why is that? So if you look at the forward fuselage, that's coming from the company Spirit in Wichita, Kansas, US of A. This part's coming from Kawasaki in Japan. This part's coming from Korea, Italy, Washington, again, US of A, Australia. We got something from Australia there. Other parts not shown. You got stuff from England, Canada, Sweden, France, etc., etc., etc. Why would they do that? Why would they go for, I keep bringing up my clock by accident. Why would they go for this option over this option? And the answer is because they want it to be efficient and profitable. Because it's cheaper and it's more time efficient. They can make things quicker and better with a global supply chain. We mentioned specialization. This one company here, Cal ASD, they probably only make wingtips in their factory, but they make them very, very, very well, very quickly, very cheaply, which means that they've specialized in that. It means that the Boeing company making this plane can make those planes for cheaper, and they can make them better and quicker, which is what I just said there. This connects to our various studies of globalization and specialization. Creating these parts elsewhere is more cost effective, and by focusing on one individual part, suppliers can improve their product. So they've got experience and they've got expertise at that one thing they focus on. A global supply chain exists for almost every product in your household. There was another diagram I was going to throw up of a phone, like a little deconstructed phone, a smartphone. And yeah, there were different products from Japan, from Korea, from Germany. There was another one of like I think it was a dishwasher. And yeah, you can probably find out where everything in your home has come from. And everything in your home has come from 100 different places. So, global supply chains is what we're looking at in chapter 22.10. So I go and read chapter 22.10. It's the first thing you can do, and that'll help you answer these questions. Again, these questions aren't actually in the textbook. The information is in the textbook, just to avoid any confusion. So question 1, nice and simple. Define the term supply chain. So what does that mean? Question 2. In chapter 22.10, they talk about the phone company Nokia, which might be a bit old for you young bloods, but that used to be a big phone company. And why was the phone company Nokia forced to use a global supply chain for its business? So before they started to be this big phone company, they used to make everything in one location. But they were forced to use a global supply chain. Why? Go find that for question 2. Question 3. Identify 3 different raw materials, so 3 different resources, wood, coal, steel, oil, etc., used in the production of mobile phones. So what are 3 things that go into your mobile phone? If you don't know that off the top of your head, chapter 22.10 has a nice list of things. So go find that. So 3 things used in your mobile phone, and then the countries where those 3 products are sourced from. So where do people get coltan for their mobile phone? It's a little mineral that they use in the battery. So look up 3 different resources and 3 different countries where those things come from. Question 4. This one's not in the textbook. It's out your window. Question 4. How do you believe COVID-19, coronavirus, has impacted global supply chains? So early on, during all this pandemic shenanigans, you probably saw news articles, or you saw social media posts or whatever about, there's not enough of toilet paper on the shelves, or there's not enough of flour or whatever. That's because COVID-19 impacted the global supply chain. So stores like Woolworths that have relied on different countries through globalization now are forced to fend for themselves. So consider how COVID-19 has impacted suppliers, how it's impacted factories. Do you think factories are still open during all of this? I'm sure some of you, like Mr. Tapley, were disappointed to see that some of your favorite movies or video games are being delayed as a result of COVID-19. That's related to the global supply chain. So think about that question there. No wrong answers, 1 or 2 sentences. What do you think's happened? And that's all I've got for this lesson, guys. Any questions or concerns, please let me know. I'm going to try and have your World War I essay results uploaded next week. which would be week 9. There we go. Yeah, it's confusing because I'm recording this video in week 7, but I'll try and get the results up for the essay in either week 8 or week 9, and then we'll be talking about the cat in week 10 for economics, that is. We're not having another history one. And yeah, best of luck, guys. Cheers.